This week on the Fifth Trooper podcast.
And if you just completely agree with us, that would be great too. I like praise that I'm doing things right.
Yeah, so go ahead, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to comment and tell Nick he's doing things right. That would be great. That would really boost his ego.
Welcome to the Fifth Trooper podcast.
Welcome to the Fifth Trooper podcast. In this edition, we'll be talking about Star Wars Legion. My name is Jay Shalansky, and this is my good friend and Wookiee translator, Nick Allen.
Hey.
On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about a giveaway, which we're pretty excited about. We're going to be breaking down the entire Rebels units list, and we're also going to talk a little bit about what we're playing as well, just an update from last week. So, let's get started. And the first thing on our list is this amazing, super awesome giveaway. Basically, what we're doing is we are giving away a box of Rebel Commandos, brand new, in the box, sealed. If you're checking us out on YouTube, you will see the box on our table. And so all you got to do is go to podcast.thefifthtrooper.com, and up at the top of the page, you'll see a little giveaway tab. Just click that. To enter. Listen, we're looking for likes on the Facebook page. We'd like you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, rate us on iTunes, and follow us on Twitter. Those are how you can get multiple entries. And, I know sometimes that can be a little bit of a pain, but, if you like the podcast and you want more people to listen and you want us to be successful, we need those shares and likes and everything. And so we really, we really, really appreciate you doing that. And for all your trouble, you'll be entered to win a Rebel Commandos box. So we're pretty excited about that. Okay, so that being said, we're going to move on. And like I said, we're going to break down the Rebel units here. And Nick's gonna start this off since he plays Rebel Troopers. And the first breakdown is Rebel Troopers.
My time to shine.
That's right.
So we went over a lot of this in the first podcast, but we're going to go in more depth, breaking down each unit and each different type of upgrade you can put on them, and what we think of them, if we feel they're good, the overall feel of a unit. So starting off with the Rebel Troopers, we'll start with the heavy weapons. We have the Ion Trooper and the Z6. The Ion Trooper I don't like. It just doesn't do enough. Like I mentioned this in the first podcast, Impact 1 doesn't make much of a difference, and one Ion token doesn't do enough. If I'm going to be throwing Ion tokens at things, I want to get 2 on it, so it takes away all their actions. Because if it's something like a repulsor vehicle, it's still going to get to move, it's still going to get to shoot, it's still going to do a lot of what they can do. They're just not going to be able to aim. So I could see a situation, and I did this for a little while, where I would play multiples, and they were both throwing Ion tokens. So if I rolled well and I got 2 Ion tokens, it felt great.
Yeah.
But that's a lot to put into just slowing down one unit. The Z6 troopers are awesome.
Oh yeah.
They make the Rebel troopers feel so consistent. 'Cause 6 white dice, high variance, but for the most part, you're going to get 2 shots with that.
Yeah, and I was looking at swlegion.com, the Never Tell Me the Odds website, so he does all the math and everything. It's amazing. And I think he had on there that with the Z6 and the troopers, the similar setup you have, the 4 troopers and the Z6, so it's a 50-50 of 0 misses or 3.5 hits. Or I'm sorry, 0 hits, not 0 misses. 0 hits and 3.5 hits. So you got a 50-50 chance with that, which it's not bad.
It's not bad. So that's my feelings on the heavy weapons.
Okay.
Yay for Z6s, nay for Ion Troopers. For personnel, we have the 1 Rebel Trooper, pretty standard. I was playing this for a long time, and I felt that it was kind of necessary. After playing without it, it doesn't feel necessary at all. It doesn't really change the feel of the unit, not having that extra trooper, not putting in that 10 points.
Yeah.
So I advocate leaving it out. Right now I play the Z6 and then just troopers and no upgrades. So then moving on to the upgrades, you have the targeting scopes, the environmental gear, the grappling hooks, and the emergency stims. Emergency stims I haven't played with too much. It seems like it could be good. It could be really good in a situation where you get shot at first. You throw on the stims, you get to shoot back with your full power before you got shot at, and then you lose your guys. It feels like a little Hail Mary kind of card.
Yeah, it's similar. It kind of feels a lot like New Ways to Motivate Him, the command card with Vader, where you suffer a wound to get an extra action. So it seems like a variance of that, where you'll get to do something extra this turn, but you're going to pay for it.
Yes.
On the next one.
So it's really good to keep like your DT-19 and your Z6 trooper, those important troops, so they don't die off and they get to do their very important, very flashy thing.
Yeah.
And then go away. For targeting scopes is good. It's much better on stormtroopers because they have precise and they roll white dice. Environmental gear doesn't, like, it's good because there are those situations where you're moving through that terrain, you really got to get that move in, but again, it's not like, it doesn't feel necessary. And the same with grappling hooks. Grappling hooks, if you really need to get up on that cliff, you're going to roll those white dice and you're going to take the risk. Moving on to grenades, blast. If you're running the Z6s, that feels like the Z6 sort of negates the rest of the damage on your trooper, because the Z6 is usually going to throw like 2, which is going to get rid of the cover, and then you get some shots off with your black dice.
Yep.
So the blast doesn't feel like it fits them well. Impact feels good because it fills a niche. Like your troopers are terrible against anything with armor, and the impact grenades help a lot with that. Now the problem is, of course, range 1. That's really dangerous.
Yeah, and I would say to go back, the concussion grenades feel really good with stormtroopers and snowtroopers, just because they do roll that white dice, and then if you can get within a 1 situation, it kind of changes up their dynamic a little bit. But
they also roll red dice for
defense.
Yeah, so they hit. It's less risky for them to try and push into that.
Absolutely,
range 1.
where you guys are already rolling black dice.
Yes. So if I push into range 1, most likely out of cover to throw my grenades at an ATST, he will, unless that ATST dies, they're dead.
Right.
So my list, what I play is just the 4 Rebel Troopers and just the Z6. I don't take any upgrades. Part of the reason for that is that what I feel very important is consistency. I play multiple Rebel Troopers, and I used to play it where to fill in points, I would throw random things on random troopers. And that doesn't feel great, because then you put yourself into situations where, like, you want this trooper with this thing in this situation, but he's on the other side of the board, or you overcomplicate things with putting the unit with the scope in a better position where you think you're going to fire, and it just makes things complicated.
Yeah.
And much like a card game with consistency, you want your troops to function the same way, each unit to function the same way in every situation, so that you're better prepared when those situations come up, and you're not relying on, like, darn it, if I only had this unit over here, then this would be better. And it's just it's just all the same.
Yeah, and I think early on when we were playing, we thought there was more value in having that 5th trooper in the unit, and I think as we've grown and learned, I don't think it adds much. It adds a little bit, but not enough that I've seen a huge difference between that extra trooper at all.
No, not at all. Extra trooper or not having grenades or having grenades.
Yeah.
It's like in my list where I play the ATRTs with laser cannons, that's my armor piercing unit.
Yes.
I rely on him to take care of those and let my troopers do their thing.
Yep.
Which is not blowing up things with armor. Okay, moving on to the fleet troopers. I like the fleet troopers a lot.
Yeah.
They have very high variance. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like last night when we were playing, they rolled terribly, but there are other times where they roll awesome. Having surges to hits it feels really good, like, because that adds 3 out of 8 to hit.
So right from Kyle on swlegionodds.com. They have a 3.75 net hits with the scatter gun. They're the number one most effective unit out of all units based on the math, which I mean,
is
that
awesome.
just shows their value right there for
Yes.
sure.
Now, with that being said, moving on to the heavy weapons, the Barrage Trooper and the Scattergun. The Scattergun is fairly obvious. It does what it does. It rolls 2 red dice instead of 2 white dice. Again, range 1 to 2. It has the Pierce, which I always forget about. Right now, though, I am experimenting with the Barrage Trooper. It seems really interesting.
Yeah.
Like giving your dice pool blast
Yeah.
seems really good. Impact 2 also feels really good. Like I was saying with the Ion Trooper, it's Impact 1, which
Right.
like getting 1 shot off, that's not great. But getting 2, and it's 2 extras, you can roll natural crits.
Yeah, and I would say
That
with
feels much better.
with the Ion Trooper, they're similar to the DLT except for they have to exhaust.
Mhm.
And so the impact 1 on 2 red dice when you don't have to exhaust the unit is amazing. But yeah, I don't think it's effective when you have to exhaust it and then ready it on another turn.
So overall, I feel like both of these are viable. It depends on your list and what your playstyle is.
Yeah.
The Barrage Trooper has been good for me in the 2 games that I played it. The Scattergun Trooper has always been good. It feels obviously good.
So do you see, just to compare it to the Imperialist, do you see the Barrage Trooper, even though he has to exhaust, it's kind of like the HH-12, right?
Yes.
It's a situational thing that can help against armor units and help you maybe hold it. So the Fleet Troopers seem like a unit that and I've seen you play them this way, where it's more like I'm either going to hold this objective or I'm going to go get this objective.
Mhm.
And so I wonder, does that work a lot like the HH-12? So if you have an armor unit coming at you, do you feel like more secure when you have the Barrage Trooper?
Not really, because it's 2 whites and a black rather than 3 blacks.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. What feels secure to me with the Barrage Trooper is that it has a lot of diversity. It's good in a lot of situations with the blast and the impact, and it has range 3, where your troopers normally have range 1 to 2. So it feels like you can do more in different situations. Like you can, if you have units coming at you or you want to move in, you can spend a turn to throw some suppression on them.
Okay.
To better move in,
Yep.
and then hit them with the full all white dice.
Yeah.
Now again, with these guys, I'm playing just the 4 troopers, and right now the Barrage Trooper still feels good. I'm not playing the extra personnel. I've been experimenting with that. Again, these guys feel a bit worse than the normal Rebel Troopers not having the extra guy, because
Mhm.
that's 2 white dice.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, it's not so much that I would change it yet, unless I had the extra points.
Right. You're still just experimenting with.
Yes. Moving on to the rest of what they have, just like the Rebel Troopers, the targeting scopes, the environmental gear, the grappling hooks, the emergency stems, and then for grenades, concussion grenades, impact grenades. The only one I really want to use on this is the targeting scope. So this goes along the lines of synergy.
Yeah.
So the targeting scope, along with the Fleet Trooper's ability, the Ready 1, so that you automatically get that aim token, and then your targeting scope kicks in, and you have that precise, and you're getting all this stuff kind of for free.
Yes.
And that I like. For just 6 points, I can roll 3 extra white dice, and that's the other important part, is they roll white dice, and you're going to want as many rolls as possible, because you're almost especially rolling 10 white dice, if you're not using, even when you're using the Barrage Trooper, 10 white dice means you're definitely going to have 3 blanks to reroll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the same, similarly with the Stormtroopers. It just doesn't, the white just doesn't matter. It seems like it's fine, but most times I'm using it to hope to get a hit for some suppression and stuff. And then that precise one that already comes on the Stormtroopers is
that feels good.
duper.
And then if you throw in a targeting scope, I don't necessarily advocate that, because you're not always going to have 4 dice to reroll, but
Yeah.
that means you can reroll 4 dice. And moving on. So next we have the Rebel Commandos, the new guys on the block. I have been experimenting with these, both guys. with the strike team and just the regular commandos. Right now, I'm experimenting with the charge saboteur. So far, I don't like them, but I also feel like I'm playing them wrong. I keep getting overly aggressive, in the same way I do with a lot of things when I first start playing them. I think that they can do more than they can with their Scout 2. Oh, I'm going to Scout 2, I'm going to go grab this objective token, I'm going to run away. And instead what happens is I go in there, I fall short of the objective token, I get suppressed down, and then my guys get destroyed because they don't have any support.
Yeah.
So I don't have a huge opinion on them, but they seem awesome. Having low profile, and then the Scout 2 so they can move and get them into a better position, and then the Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is awesome. Cover 2 just becomes cover 1 or no cover if they have a suppression token. That feels really good.
Yep. And then so on swlegion.com they had it at their 3.52 net hits with this unit. So they seem pretty good. I wonder though, seeing them played if they're similar to the bikes. And what I mean by that is, for a lot of people believe that with the bikes and some of the stuff I've seen is they're more of a turn 2, 3, 4 kind of unit. So I wonder if with these ones, if they're more of a hold off, I'm going to sneak around and do some tricky stuff back here type of unit, which I think that's good. It's just you have to be in the mindset for that.
To me, it seems like they're more of like the objective we were playing last night was the 5 tokens, to collect tokens. If you just set one of those tokens way off in the distance where nobody can get at it, and then you send your commandos at it, they get an extra leg up, getting that extra 2 movement at the beginning, and then they can grab the token and then get back in the action without losing a step like any other unit would.
Right.
Let's see. So also the sniper is awesome. We'll talk more about him during the strike team.
Yeah.
But like I said in the last podcast, I feel like if I'm going to play commandos, the full unit, it's going to be the 4 commandos and the sniper, not the saboteur. My experience with the saboteur is he dies and then I don't get to detonate my charge. But again, I think I'm playing pretty sloppy. Moving on to, they have all the same gear as other troopers. They have the targeting scopes, the environmental gear, grappling hooks and emergency stims, and then the concussion grenades and the impact grenades.
Yep. So these guys are interesting with all the uplink and right, like the comms and all that too. That's an interesting add on these.
Yes. So with these guys, I have emergency stims on them first, because these units are more valuable. I feel like you get more out of that 8 points for the emergency stims, but haven't really had a great chance to test it yet. The rest of the stuff, again, like the fleet troopers, I want things with synergy, and none of this really has great synergy except maybe environmental gear.
Okay.
You're going to be sending these guys all over the place, or at least in my mind, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. And
so the unhindered is going to help a lot with just being able to get where you want to go.
Yeah, I think maybe 2 grappling hooks. Those
grappling hooks too.
Yeah, I'm starting to value those a lot higher now. They were fun in the beginning, like I remember when we were first playing, I'd toss them on a couple of units because I was like, oh, nice. But now I'm seeing them more as a strategic placement. Like we'll talk about this later, but I have them on the snow troopers. And I mean, I think if you're going to use these commandos as a turn 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, let's say 3, 4, turn 3, 4 unit, you're going to want grappling hooks to kind of get over some terrain easier and get around things that maybe most units are going around.
Yes, the commandos feel like a jack of all trade. This might be the unit you want to load up with all the things, so they can just do whatever they want. Sort of similar to like a Luke, but without spending 160 points base.
Yeah.
Onto the comms. Good. We aren't done yet. We haven't even talked about duck and cover, which is the best one.
Right.
Okay, so onto the comms. We have the long range comm link, the comm jammers, and the HQ uplink. I wouldn't use the comms jammer. I haven't really had. It's 15 points first and foremost, and you're basically positioning a unit so your opponent can't do things with it. It seems good in a situation where you're close to an enemy, you're both duking it out, and the next shot is going to clear out either side of you, and then it's generally going to allow you to have that first shot. The problem is it costs 15 points, and that's a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of what if scenarios in order for that to work. Like what if I'm near an ATST and he's barraging some of my units and throwing all this suppression out. Well, if I have this, I can, try to stop him, but I don't think he wants to spend 15 points for what ifs.
Yes. And then the long range comlink, this is the reason why I play Battle Meditation. Battle Meditation, for the same amount of points, feels like I'm giving long range comlink to any one of my units. Yeah.
Okay.
Then the HQ uplink, I was just reading this to read the terminology between this and long range comlink. This gives you an extra order. That's really sweet. To have on the commandos or any other unit that can carry it, to just be able to okay, I need this guy to have an order, and then I need this guy to have an order for which I need to use my Battle Meditation. This is just quickly, here's an extra order, or I just need that extra order for the turn.
Yep.
And then finally, duck and cover. I have not played with this yet. This still seems really good, especially on rebels who do not defend well. If I get caught out in the open, which means I'm playing sloppily, I can they roll their dice. I'm like, that looks really bad for me. I'm going to give myself a suppression token, and because of the low profile, now I have cover 2 out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess this would be too, like what you were talking about your scenario before with the commandos and grabbing a token on the other end of the board and trying to just hold on to it. Then you could start giving yourself some cover just to hold your position.
You can run out there, you can grab the thing, you can throw on duck and cover. Okay. So now the strike team. The important thing about the strike team so far for me is the sniper. This to me is just a sniper unit. The game we played last night, I had this handy little silo in my deploy zone, and I just set this guy right on top of him, and he was awesome.
Yeah, and I guess never tell me the odds. He has just the sniper on its own has a 23.5% hit chance without aim.
And with aim, I always get a hit off. With aim, with the aim and the sharpshooter and the pierce and the high velocity, all these things that say you are always going to take a damage, period. Mm-hmm. And that's been my experience with him so far. As for gear, I actually don't use any of this. The only thing I could see myself using is an HQ uplink or the long range comm.
Yeah.
Because the way I use him is I set him up somewhere, and then he stays there way out of the battlefield and just takes advantage of that unlimited range to just throw on suppression, to take a unit out. He does all the things. Yeah,
and this is something we've talked about before, but this is Fantasy Flight knows their units, and if you've played any war games before or watched any, History Channel with war, what are snipers supposed to do? Find a space, sit for days, and just kill anything that pops up in their scope. And I know I can't express this the right way right now, but they feel like snipers, and I think it's the way you play them, but I saw someone else play them too. And if you do it right, you get them up high, you just have them sit and just party at one elevated location, and you don't get tricky with them. They're a pain in the butt, and playing against them, you're always thinking, okay, this is a risk to go out in the open. I clearly know he has snipers. Can I afford this risk right now? And it changes the whole scope of, anyways, the way you play against that list, for sure.
And they're very much a utility unit. You're not focusing down one unit. You're surveying the battlefield and saying, okay, these guys already went. These guys haven't, and they could be very dangerous. I want a suppression on them. Mm-hmm. Or I want to pick something off. And that's how you play them. Yeah. You don't just try and focus down one unit and try and kill it. You're just trying to put the rest of your army in a better situation.
Yeah, they're full on support.
Yes.
That's exactly how you should use them. You shouldn't be aggressive with them. Like you said, you don't have to focus on anything. You're focusing on that turn and what the rest of your army's objective is and how you can stop your opponent really from messing with you.
And their activation every turn is aim and shoot.
Yeah.
Aim and shoot.
Yep.
Okay. We can move on. The ATRTs. I like these guys a lot, except for on defense. They die pretty easily.
Yeah.
So going through their hard points, you have the flamethrower, the rotary, and the laser cannon. So this is very much like the jack of all trades suite. It's like, what do you want these guys to do? Do you want them to kill troopers? Do you want them to be all around? Or do you want them to take out armor? Right now, I just want them to take out armor just because the rebels don't do that very well. So that's the job they're on. In the future, as we get more units and we get more things that have impact, I can see myself using the rotary blaster, less likely to use the flamethrower. The reason why I'm less likely to use the flamethrower is that these guys at range at melee have 3 reds.
Yeah.
So if I'm that close already, I'm just going to put myself in melee range and I'm just going to throw 3 reds at them.
Well, and, just to throw the numbers out there from Never Tell Me the Odds, he has the rotary at 3.1 net hits.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where the flamethrower, this is why everyone, I think, questions it, because with 5 targets in a unit, its net hits are 6.2, which is, I can see why that can attract you, and you'll be like, oh man, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to destroy. But like you said, if you're that close anyways, you might as well start getting in melee combat. And then the laser is set at 2.13 net hits, which seems reasonable.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I'm usually 2 or 3.
Right,
Or
and
on the side of 2.
And like I said, this is from Never Tell Me the Odds, swlegionodds.com. He has, I'm just giving you the high level of the numbers for everybody listening. If you go to his site, you'll actually see he breaks it out situationally as well. So like if you're up against white defense dice, red defense dice, if you're aiming, if you have impact, all of that stuff, it's really good stuff. So I just want to make sure everybody knows we're just giving high level numbers here on this.
Yes. As for the comms, for the exact same reasons I mentioned before, I have battle meditation. The reason I have battle meditation is so I don't have to put points into these things. But for a while, I was running long range comlink always because I want to send my orders where I want to send my orders. And then I can make a case for HQ uplink. The only problem is I play 2 ATRTs. I feel regardless of what weapon you're using, you want 2 of them because they do die easily. You want them to move as a group and to focus together. So that requires 2 HQ uplinks, and that's 2.
Yeah.
That's a lot of points.
I would agree that these guys are like the bikes. You want 2. I don't think I've ever seen a successful.
No, I tried with just 1, and 1 just doesn't have any kind of real effect.
Yep.
We're good. The airspeeder. We are not going to spend a ton of time on this because we have beaten this one to death so far. But I will talk about the way I do use it when I do play it and what I like on it. So start off with the pilot. When I play it, I play Wedge. Wedge. The reason why I play it is because I don't use any of the hard points. The ground buzzer is super expensive. And the harpoon doesn't do much. The harpoon makes for these really interesting situations where you can like turn another vehicle and have it drive off the map, another repulsor vehicle.
Sure.
But they're rare. They don't come up that often, especially since nobody else plays airspeeders. So you're only talking about bikes.
Right.
It's just not effective.
Right. And so with the buzzer, so this thing it's rear facing. It nets about 2.8 hits, and that's with aim. And so for the points, it's just not an efficient weapon, unfortunately, especially since it's rear facing only. And then, the front cannon, when we get to it, that's 4.7 hits. That's with aim.
So with Wedge, you basically get a rear weapon for 5 points because you repulse past whatever you were trying to shoot at. You flip around,
Yeah.
and then you just shoot again.
So
And it's only 5 points.
okay, so we know you're not a fan of this, but let's say somebody out there in podcast land wants to play it. What are your recommendations on playing this unit?
Just wedge.
Just what?
Airspeeder with just wedge.
And then how do you see it? Like, do you see it similar to how we talk about the bikes, where it's a turn 3, turn 4, or do you want him in taking out armor vehicles? How do you see this being played effectively? I know it's not the best unit, but how can we make it effective?
So the way I've always tried to, it depends on the situation. Like if you need to take out an armor vehicle, it does have impact 3. But the way I always have tried to is I'll generally set it up in the back. And then I want a situation where I have the enemy troops are in a line and I can just come through and I can just buzz right over them and just destroy anything I possibly can.
Yep.
And unfortunately with the airspeeder, you're probably only going to be able to do it once. I don't think it's ever worked out where I've been able to do that, to glide by, shoot up things, use wedge to flip around and be able to fly back. Usually somewhere in that first pass by, it dies.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's dependent on your opponent, but it's more of an annoyance for me as someone who plays against it than it is a tables turner, during the game. It's just annoying to deal with.
And the reason why the ATRT, even though they both roll white dice, so they both feel like they have about the same survivability, even though the airspeeder rolls surges on defense. Wherever the airspeeder is, you're going to be able to hit it.
Yeah.
It floats above the ground. There's no cover. There's no real line of sight issues. You're always going to be able to fully hit it.
Well,
it does have cover 1.
Yeah.
It does have cover 1. But you still just going to be able to lay out on it. Where like the ATRT, I can block line of sight occasionally, or like half of your army is behind this giant pillar and they can't just all shoot at it and focus it down.
Okay.
Okay, Luke. Luke is my go-to. He is my, again, jack of all trades. That's how I play. I like good things. And Luke is one of those good things. So we'll start off with what he gets with Force. He gets the Mind Trick, the Saber Throw, Battle Meditation, Force Push, and Force Reflexes. I use Battle Meditation and Force Push. Force Push, I think I used for the first time really effectively last night.
Yep.
Where Jay over there had an objective token. He had picked it up with Vader.
Yep.
I had moved in, and I pulled Vader to me before his, what's the name of that command card?
Implacable.
Yeah, whatever his 1-pip is that lets him put the order token back in. So before he could redraw that order token, I brought him into melee, engaged him so that he would have to use his full action just to get away from me.
Yep.
So that was nice. Force Reflexes is really good with Luke. Unfortunately, unlike Vader, he can't just keep reusing it every turn. And that one costs 15 points, which is a lot. I think it's worth it if that's what you want, because getting the deflection is super powerful. But again, 15 points is a lot. Saber Throw is useless on Luke. He has a gun.
Yep.
And then I haven't really played with Jedi Mind Trick. But getting into range 1 to 2 suppression tokens, it seems good. But same as with the Force Reflexes, you had to recover to use it again, unlike with Vader, who just gets to do it for free every time.
Yeah.
Moving on to the gear, you have the targeting scopes, the environmental gear, the grappling hooks, the emergency stims. Grappling hooks are useless because he has jump.
Mm-hmm.
The targeting scope it's okay. Like if you get a melee, you get an extra reroll. That's pretty nice. The one I want to experiment with, and when I'm going to redo my list after this podcast, is the environmental gear. Luke, I want to be able to move wherever I want him to at full movement. I want him to have all the options, and the gear just makes it so that he can move faster, better, stronger.
Yeah, I guess, thinking about, to go back, Jedi Mind Trick, I don't know. It's nice, but I would think unless you're trying to, panic, unless you're trying to panic a unit, it's not really as effective. So just in my mind, with Vader specifically, like even if I'm up there and let's say they do have one or two suppression tokens, they're still going to end up shooting if they're not panicked. And so that's what they want to do anyways. They just won't get an aim, and maybe you could slow them down if you're trying to destroy the unit. But yeah, that one seems oddly situational as well. So it could work, but I don't know. I haven't seen too many areas where I was like, oh yeah, it'd be really nice to just have that.
And on top of that, if you want a unit to panic, it's usually because you want it to run off the board, and you can just push them off the board with Force Push.
Right.
That's usually what happens. For the rest of Luke, his jump 1 is amazing. His charge is amazing. Like, all of his abilities on his card are amazing. They allow him to just move all over the place and then attack. He's just able to do really surprising things that your opponent may not see coming. Like, he jumps over a mountain, and then he moves again, and suddenly he's attacking you, and then he's engaged with a unit, so you can't shoot at him.
Yep.
And it gets crazy. That's the situations I always want him in. I always try to put him into to melee combat. I always just try and get him in there and moving around and causing chaos.
Yeah, and I'll say he, just comparing him to Vader, he for sure is something I worry about when playing against him. I always have to keep an eye on him, but I don't feel as... And maybe it's because he can be suppressed, and maybe it's, some of the other stuff. He definitely shocks you from time to time, like you said, because he'll do some crazy stuff. But overall, he's more of just, for me, he's more of just I should be aware, less oh my God, here he comes.
Yeah. With Luke, you have to play smart with him. I've definitely played not smart with him many, many, many times. Many times. But with Vader, it's just like he's coming, and there's really nothing you can do about it except maybe try to kill him before he gets there, which usually doesn't work.
Yep.
Because usually he gets there.
Yep.
The other thing about Luke is I don't like his blaster. I like that it's there, but it's only good if you catch a unit out. If they're in cover, he doesn't have sharpshooter, so those are usually just going to go away.
Oh yeah.
Unless he rolls crits.
Right, but if they get through, then he's got Pierce. He's got Pierce too, right?
Yep.
So
if you catch somebody out,
yeah,
it's awesome.
Well, and I think it's more of a, I think it's I'm on my way to get with Luke. I'm on my way to get this unit. I'll shoot him on the way in. Maybe I can get him on a suppression or something, and then I'll pop in. And
but the problem with those situations is he has movement too.
Yeah.
And so if you're in range 1 to 2, generally speaking, you're just moving into melee, and then he has charge.
Yep.
So the blaster just doesn't come into play very often, but when it's there, it's really nice.
Yep.
It's nice to have. It means you don't have to play saber throw.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then moving on to Leia. Leia was like a sleeper for me. The first time I played her, it was terrible, but I was overly aggressive, as I generally am with everything. When I first tried to play it, she is really, really good support commander. She's not amazing on her own. She doesn't do a lot of crazy stuff, but she can remove the suppression from the troops around her. She can throw dodge tokens. And then there's those situations where she does get to shoot, and she has Pierce 1 and Sharpshooter 2. She's definitely going to hit.
Yes.
As for her gear, for the, what are they called? Her command cards. So we have Commanding Presence, the Esteemed Leader, and Improvised Orders. I always play Esteemed Leader. This is semi-situational, only because, generally speaking, if they're going to focus on Leia, that's fine, because she can soak up damage that my troopers aren't. But there are situations where I just want her to survive, like she's carrying an objective token, or she's about to die, and the guard 1 is really, really strong. It basically makes it so that her health goes up 2 to 3 points.
Yeah, and I'll say, As someone who played against it last night,
Mhm.
that was incredibly annoying.
Yes.
Especially if she's got some wounds on her and you're trying to get her to drop a token. She's like, oh, I'm just gonna throw some troopers in the way.
Yep.
So that was
They're gonna jump in the way for me.
yeah, that was really tough.
I had commanding presence on her for a while, but I got rid of it because, generally speaking, if you're playing Leia correctly, she's in the middle of the troops. She's supporting them. So the range they're usually at range 1. So that one just doesn't come into play. And then the newbie improvised orders. I like this card a lot. I haven't played with it yet. The potential I see in it is that as more troops come out, as lists become more diverse and less centered around just like a whole bunch of troops, you're going to have less control over your order pool when they come out randomly. So in a lot of situations right now, you can put out your order tokens, and a lot of times you just have troops left, so you know you're just getting troops, and you're basically in full control. Anything you want to activate, you can activate. As we have like the specialist units, the supports, everything that's coming out, that's going to be less and less of a thing. So improvised orders comes in, and it's just like, okay, I really don't want to use this now. I'm going to draw a different token. And because the lists are so much more dense with different troops, you're generally always going to pull a different unit.
Yeah, and I tried to use it last night with Veers, and I liked to have that option. I ended up getting a similar troop, but it's still nice because it gives you that opportunity to do something different.
Yes. How did you feel about it? Well, the one time you used it, you pulled another troop unit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but that was okay. I didn't mind. Like it was. I guess for me it was a bit of a gamble at that point. I knew that I had 2 troop units left in my pile, and I had my commanders left, and so it was a 50-50 shot. I knew it was, and it just ended up. But it did give me I think the thing I liked was I didn't get the token I wanted, but I got to shuffle. So that I could potentially get it next turn anyways. So that part I really did like. So that changed it up. I think I'm going to keep it in there with him.
As for the gear, the same gear as everybody else. I won't go through it again.
Sure.
The targeting scope, that seems like it would be good. But Leia, a lot of times Leia doesn't shoot very often. Maybe I'm not playing her wrong, but if she's surrounded by rebel troopers who shoot 1 to 3, and unless you're willing to put her out there into 1 to 2 range, she's usually not shooting. She's usually just throwing on dodge tokens.
Yeah.
My most common use for her is 2 dodge tokens on each unit, and then takes a dodge for herself, and then everybody has nimble. As for the other ones, emergency sims doesn't seem like necessary because you have a steam leader. Grappling hooks and environmental gear, I don't need her jumping all over the place, so I don't use those. Yeah,
I think similar to the snipers, right? There's a way to play her, and it isn't aggressive, and it isn't out in the open. She is similarly a support unit
who can do some crazy stuff if you're in the right situation.
Yeah, absolutely, and
which is what I really like about her.
Well, and I think every time I've played you, and last night included, you play her right. I believe, from what I see, is that she's always in the right situation, and she's always just making it my life more difficult. Which is good. That's what you want, right? You want my life to be more difficult as an opponent, and so I think she's really, really good at that.
Another point is that nimble is kind of a tricky thing to get to work right.
Yeah,
because taking an action to get a dodge token never feels good unless you're in a losing situation. She helps you take advantage of nimble all the time. You activate her, you throw on the dodge tokens. The troopers then still get to take their full action.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something we've preached in earlier podcasts, and that's always my thing. And I haven't played Rebels, but I've seen them play. Well, I played them once, but I've never felt like nimble was taken advantage of enough. And you bring up a good point that it's because it's difficult to start that loop going. But yeah, she definitely gives you that opportunity, and that once again, is highly annoying with her, and that's
Yeah, nimble is
You
an
know?
amazing ability, but getting a dodge token on those troopers is tricky and difficult. Like
Yes.
you just don't want to do it.
yeah.
All right, we're good. Moving on to Han. I have not played Han. I'm going to after this podcast. I'm going to build a list with him. It's going to be Luke and Han. Han feels very much like Luke in that he can get out there. He can do crazy stuff. He has a lot of effect, but he shoots instead of gets into melee. He has the sharpshooter one. He has the low profile, the gunslinger, which sounds really interesting.
Yep.
And then the uncanny luck. And the uncanny luck, along with the low profile, if you have duck and cover on, which I will definitely be trying to duck and cover, makes it so that you can put him in those dangerous situations and his chance to survive is high.
Yeah, I think for me, just looking at especially playing Leia with the esteemed leader, I think you would want to put esteemed leader on him too, because
Yeah,
then
that makes sense.
you roll them with a couple units. They're going, they're going for an objective, and you can just start tossing.
The problem is, can the trooper units keep up with him?
Yeah,
That's what
true.
I'm wondering about. He shoots at 1 to 2.
Yeah,
The regular troopers 1 to 3. It might be a situation where I want all my troopers to be fleet troopers because I want everybody shooting at 1 to 2 so that they can just move in a wave. But then you're going to be in these situations where everybody's out of cover and everybody's in danger, which is where Steam Leader comes in.
Well, yeah, and I wonder too, like maybe you play him the way I'm playing Vader with the snow troopers. Maybe you give him a set of fleet troopers that he just always move. They always move with him. He always moves with them. Man, that would be pretty.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
They'd be buddies.
That would be pretty upsetting to see that coming at me.
Targeting scope is not good for him. He only rolls 2 dice, so re-rolling 3 that doesn't seem like a good thing.
Yep.
I could see a case for environmental gear because he's going to be similar to Luke. He's going to want to move around a lot. Same with the grappling hook. He does not have jump, unlike Luke, so a grappling hook might be really good.
Yep.
Emergency stims, we were just talking about. See, the only thing is, if I want to play the Steam Leader, I can't play improvised orders, and vice versa. That's going to be tricky. So I'd say if I end up playing improvised orders, I'll probably try out the stim pack.
Yes.
If I play a Steam Leader, then I'm not going to bother with the stim pack, which right now that sounds more and more like I'm just going to play a Steam Leader because that's 5 points versus 18.
Yeah.
And then I will definitely be playing duck and cover because that card just seems good with anything that has low profile.
Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, that's the breakdown of the Rebel Troopers. What are, for you, let's talk about a little bit with all of that and what you've been reading about each of the units. I know you said you're going to run Luke and Han. What's your next list look like completely so far? I know you're still working on it, but
No, I had it built. I just don't remember exactly what it was because I sent it to you. I might have to go dig it back out. But it was Han, Luke, Commando Strike Team. I'm sure there were fleet troopers in there, 2 Rebel troopers, and 2 ATRTs. That was probably the list. I probably did not include the Commando squad. There just isn't enough room for it.
Sure.
But we'll see.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Nick. And so that was a breakdown of Rebel Troopers. I don't know if it's going to be the next podcast or one of the ones coming up. We're going to do the same thing for Imperial, so keep an eye out for that. If you guys have any questions, suggestions, or comments, email us or get in touch with us on any of the platforms. And next, we're going to be moving on to our new segment that we started last week. We're doing it wrong. That's right, folks. We do things wrong, and we know it, and we're going to tell you about it when we do it. And so I'm going to let Nick go first. What do you want to?
Wrong a lot.
I think everybody does, and I think we talked about this last time. We're all kind of learning, and I think some of the rules that maybe we read in the beginning that we misunderstood, but we've just been playing them the same way, has become just ingrained in us. And then somebody goes off to a tournament and goes, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not how that's played. So go ahead, Nick, pick one. Which one do you want to talk about?
Well, the first one, the big one we ran into, because we had a debate about this last night, was the recover action. So when we started playing, I read it as you use one of your actions to recover, to untap your other weapons or remove suppression, and then you can then immediately shoot. And I was using it to ready my ion troopers so that they can shoot again, to put ion tokens on an airspeeder that was in front of me. And then we were talking about it afterwards, and like, no, you use your full activation to get to recover, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So the way it works is you use one action to recover to ready your tapped upgrades, and then you get your extra action. Now, if you have a suppression token, this is important.
Yep.
You only get one action. So your
Right.
action for that turn is to recover and get rid of those suppression tokens
Yes.
and to ready those things. And that's where I think we were getting confused.
Absolutely. Yeah, and because I think probably in all the times we've played, you and I specifically don't have a lot of units that need to recover a supplemental card. Like
Because we got rid of them because we were reading the rules wrong.
Yeah.
Like right now we're just
Yeah.
thinking about everything completely differently.
Yeah.
It has not changed my opinion on the Ion Troopers. Those
Right.
are bad. Stay away.
Yeah, and so that was a big one for us. And honestly, the funny part was I had learned it. Someone told me that we were doing that wrong not a few days before this. So I parlayed that information to Nick, and so that was an interesting one, and that was just a oops on our part. The other interesting one, and I don't know if this is necessarily what we're playing wrong, but just some stuff that's come up. So Evan was talking about during our Nova Open podcast about the players that were putting their unit leader behind something and then putting their other units up. So the rule basically is a unit leader is only measured for the range to make sure you can hit, not line of sight. Line of sight is measured by the mini.
Yep, it's all true line of sight.
Right.
I got confused by that too because the rules kind of make it a little gray, a little wonky.
Yeah.
Because in some situations it sounds like you measure from the unit leader and then he determines if you can shoot. Like if he can see everybody can shoot. And in my mind, the way that worked was that, well, he can see, so he orders everybody into position before they fire.
Right.
But that was me going a little too far with the rules. And what it really is like if you can see each individual unit, if they can see, they can shoot. If they can't see, they can't shoot.
Right. And I think that especially after talking to Evan and seeing, and trying it out and stuff, that changes stuff for me as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with like the DLTs or the HH12s and stuff. So it's really interesting. And folks, we're gonna keep doing this. Send us any ones maybe you've learned, and we'll report on it. And we just want to make sure that we're all playing right and that we know what we're doing wrong. So moving on, we are now going to talk about what are we playing now. Most of the focus is going to be on me, what I'm playing now. We are going to talk about Nick's list. He did not change his list from our last podcast. I, however, completely changed my list. And I actually am super excited about it. And so I'm going to go through it now. I still have Vader. Everybody knows I love Vader, and I don't know that I'll ever get rid of him. I love him that much. He has Force Push and Saber Throw. I added General Veers with Improvised Orders. I have my Snow Troopers, but what I did was usually I was playing 4 Snow Troopers with a Flame Trooper. So what I did was I added an additional Snow Trooper to them, grappling hooks, and impact grenades. I have 2 units of those. So 2 units of Snow Troopers with the extra Trooper, Flame Trooper, grappling, and impact grenades. Then I have 2 sets of Stormtroopers with HH-12s and impact grenades. Then I have 2 sets of Stormtroopers with DLT-19s and impact grenades. I am in love with this list right now.
I like this list a lot. Those HH12s were really good.
Yeah. So last night, Nick and I played at our local comic store, Comic Zone. They're great. They got a ton of tables. They're North Syracuse, New York. If you're ever in town, you should definitely check them out. Tons of terrain. They're fully on board with tabletop gaming, which is amazing. But we were playing there last night for casual, and everybody was into X-Wing 2.0 release. So we were the only Legion players. So we played each other. And so Nick can give you a first-hand account of this. And it was my first time playing this list. God, I loved it so much. And in, last podcast, we were talking casual versus competitive, and we were talking about how I was still looking for that list that made sense. And I was thinking that with Boba Fett and the Commandos, or not the Commandos, but the Imperial version of the Commandos coming out, the Scout Troops. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
There's the word I'm looking for. They that would help me, and I really think so. I mean, moving away from a heavy hitter, from an ATST or the bikes, like opened up my mind, to the battlefield and how to play. And I don't know. I'll let Nick kind of talk about what he saw as far as how this list ran last night.
So the distinct thing for me were the HH12, and especially combined with Veer's command card that readies a, I don't even know what it reads. What exactly does it say?
Ready's 2 troops. Yeah.
2 troops?
Yeah.
Okay. That was really, really good because he used his HH12, and I'm just like, okay, that's out of commission now. It's going to be a little while before I can use it again, and suddenly he's using it again. His troops shredded my ATRTs. Like, my ATRTs got to do stuff, so it wasn't quite as quick as like one-shotting it with an ATST.
Yeah.
But they did some serious damage.
But there was good positioning on your part on the battlefield with the ATRTs. You just had them in good positions to do what they needed to do before I got to them.
Yes, I positioned them so they could just start shooting up Vader and the
Mm-hmm.
snowtroopers. The list seems solid, and it looks like fun because it's just all troopers.
Yeah.
And when I was first looking at it, it's just like, how do you have any real impact? And I actually mean the keyword impact.
Yeah.
And it just, those HH12s were really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the, going back to we're doing it wrong, with the recover action too, that made them even stronger. And I felt like my concern with them has always been, without playing them, just looking at the rule base, was the cumbersome and not being able to move. But I feel like I positioned them in a really good spot last night that...
They've ranged 1 to 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I moved them a little bit, and I didn't get to shoot, what was it, 1 round or 2 rounds, but I think, if you can position them properly and you put them in good, with all your units, if you put them in good situations, you're going to do well with them. I'm still, I think where I still fall down a little bit is I maybe, even though Vader does well with being aggressive, I think I'm being too aggressive with him. So I think the next time I play this list, I'll probably play him a little more reserved and just a little bit more thought out. Which was, it actually didn't hurt me. In the past, it's hurt me because Vader's been my only leader, and I lose all the command cards. But adding Veers in and having his command cards too was really solid. And even though I missed Vader, he did some good work before I threw him to the masses there. But I think other than that, I love this list. I'm really excited to play it again. I'm going to hold on to this one for a while and just get some reps under my belt with this one. Really excited about this list.
Yeah. My only question is, do you have impact? You're taking what I was talking about earlier with consistency. Everything has impact grenades.
Yeah.
I don't know if you need those. Honestly, those HH12s did some work. I mean, keep experimenting, but...
Yeah. I would say against you and your list, probably not the way your list was built last night.
Yeah.
But I would say maybe against ATSTs.
ATSTs would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But then again, you get in cover 2, you roll red dice.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think what I would...
Yeah, I don't know what else you would put in there.
Yeah.
Like, you could go with blast grenades.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have flame troopers.
Right. But how often... I guess the question is, how often do I have stormtroopers in a place where, let's say for you, where you're behind cover that I need to have blast with?
How often are you in a situation where you're in range to use impact grenades?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a good question.
yeah. It might be a situation where you want to get rid of the impact grenades on like your HH-12s,
Yeah,
and then put scopes on your DLT-19s.
yeah, yeah. That's good
That
too.
would be pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, so those are definitely things I'm going to play with. But I think as far as the units go, I think that's going to be in my list for a little bit. I'll take a look at Boba Fett and the Scouts when they come out. But I'm really high.
Well, you're going to be playing that sniper.
Yeah.
That's happening.
I'm really high on this list. I'd like to see it against another Imperial list though, with the ATST and the bikes to see how it does.
Off the top of your head, do Scout Troopers roll red dice or white dice?
I don't know. I
We'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about it in a
we'll take
different
a look.
podcast. Because they roll red dice, they could be super aggressive. They could be played the way I'm trying to play them.
Yep.
But my troopers, of course, roll white dice.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on to me.
Yes.
So, a quick recap. Well, I won't go into detail about the list I was running last week. It was Luke Leia, Fleet Troopers, 2 Rebel Troopers, the Commando Squad with the Proton Saboteur, the Sniper Strike Team, a.k.a. my favorite unit in the game right now, probably period, and then 2 ATRTs with laser cannons. So, I'm playing the Commandos wrong was the big thing. The big takeaways was I'm playing my Commandos wrong.
Yeah.
And they just died very, very early. So I still don't have a great opinion of them. Hopefully this is not the opinion that they're not good, because I think they could be really good. The Sniper is amazing.
Yeah.
And then the other change I made was with my command cards. I got rid of Orbital Bombardment, Leia's Pip 1, and I just put in Ambush.
Yeah.
That is the right call. Orbital Bombardment feels like something you have to play turn 1, and that's basically what happens, because if you don't play it turn 1, you're not going to get that off.
Yeah.
So now you're in a situation where you have to use Leia, who you generally want to use first, but you don't want to use her first in the first turn, because generally those dodge tokens, the Inspire 2, well, if she's going first, Inspire 2 definitely does nothing. So you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to use this first, and it just takes all the advantage of using a Pip 1, and then it's forcing you to use that in the beginning. Having Ambush has been phenomenal. Having that 1 Pip just pull out whenever I need it, the way Ambush is supposed to work, is awesome. It has been really good for both games for me. This last game, what I did was I positioned my Fleet Troopers on the objective token that I just stripped away from Vader. And having that Pip 1, and Jay had already used both his Pip 1s because he used, what's the maximum firepower?
Yeah.
On turn 1, the way you kind of have to with the Pip
Yeah.
1 that does damage like that. And then he used his Vader Pip 1 a turn or 2 earlier. So I had my troopers on it, threw down Ambush, grabbed that token, and I got out of there.
Yeah, that was really solid. And I don't disagree with you, and I think that's something I'm gonna play with a little bit too, is trying to I'm still working with maximum firepower. I like what it did last night, so I wasn't against it.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's game to game, and it'll depend. And maybe I'll get a couple games under my belt with it, and I'll come to the same.
Yeah, and if you're putting it in your command deck, either one of those Pip 1s that do damage on the first turn, you're basically committing to playing that turn 1. That's usually the only time you're going to be able to get it off to the maximum effect.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't know. I have to, and I think it's play style too, because I think with Veers, the way I was playing him last night, he was hanging back with the HH-12s and giving and throwing out, aim tokens and stuff. And I think I could have used it later if I wanted to, but that's a gamble.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. You have to use it your first turn to make sure it goes off. But yeah, I'll just have to play it more and just see what I think from the Veers standpoint.
I would love somebody to comment and tell us we're doing it wrong, that you do not have to play it first, and this is when you should be doing it.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, if anybody has any ideas on that, we'd love to hear it, and we'll bring it up on the next cast.
And if you just completely agree with us, that would be great too. I like praise that I'm doing things right.
Yeah, so go ahead, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you want to comment and tell Nick he's doing things right. That would be
Yes.
great. That would really boost his ego.
Yes.
Make
exactly
him
what
feel
I need.
good for the week.
Some self-esteem.
But all right, everybody, that's it for this cast. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, you can find us online at podcast.thefifthtrooper.com. Email us at thefifthtrooperpodcast@gmail.com. We are on Twitter and Facebook at The Fifth Trooper. And please don't forget the giveaway for the command unit. We're giving away a brand new box. It's on podcast.fifthtrooper.com. If you enter and you win, I don't know, maybe immortality is in your future. I can't make any promises, but you'll definitely get a box of command.
You have to enter to find out.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good one.
Take it easy, everybody.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper Podcast.